school districts that might be involved have to show some interest. They have not done so. So nobody seems to be running to Cambridge and saying, yes, absorb us. So that has to be pursued. And also, regarding an interim, I think an interim we get to, if in fact the search is unsuccessful or is dragging on, we don't have enough candidates. I don't think we go out and say we're going to hire an interim. But we have to keep that as a possibility if in fact the pool is as thin as Jim has expressed, and according to his statements as unqualified as it seems to be.
I also think we need to be aware of Salem's motivation in this. Some of you may not know, 2 summers ago, this board very aggressively met with their board. It was a 2-board meeting in August.
Pardon me, Paul, what do you mean? Can you just back up? I just want to make sure I understand what you're talking about.
Sure.
What do you mean by Salem's motivation in this?
That's what I'm explaining.
Okay.
The 2 boards met, and the stated purpose of the meeting was to talk about exploring future possible merger of the districts, which I think makes sense. Yeah, one second.
Explore merger?
We were just exploring it. Now, at that time, when we sat down, board to board, this was set up with that express purpose. When we sat down, they actually wouldn't even acknowledge that we were there to discuss potentially talking about investigating merging districts. They just kind of pretended that the whole thing was just about shared services. I don't know what happened. Now, this is getting back to motivation. Now they find themselves in a situation where the superintendent is leaving. My understanding was a bit of a surprise. They're half our size. That's important to know in enrollment. For them, I think it makes wonderful sense to have half of a superintendent if they could pull it off. For us, I'm not sure it does. I don't know if they'd be interested in a relationship where we get that superintendent for 2/3 of the time and they get him for 1/3 of the time. That all of a sudden may make less sense to them. But that would more accurately reflect the disparity in enrollment. So I just wanted to put that out there because this was not initiated by us deliberating and thinking, hey, this was initiated by that board in reaction to their unexpected situation with the superintendent. That's what I mean by motivation. I'm certainly not implying there's any kind of nefarious going on. I just think it's a matter of convenience for them, and I don't think we should go jumping on it because necessarily jumping on it because they're ready now.
Is that guy from Salem, the guy that sent this to us?
He's a former board member,
okay.
way back, okay. Sheldon Brown. Yeah, and a wonderful man. I really respect him, but I think it's interesting actually how he was maybe the person to write that letter. But bless you. Having said that, and the latest Post-Star editorial was actually more about merging districts rather than just sharing superintendents, which are two completely different discussions.
Correct.
And I just think that's important to know. I really question, based on all the work we've done with CASDA and trying to figure out shared services and trying to do this kind of stuff, I really doubt the reality of any real savings from sharing a superintendent, even if we shared with like just Greenwich, where we actually went half and half with a district outside. So I just think that's important to keep in mind.
First of all, I would like to go back to the meeting that we had with Greenwich, with Salem. We went up there to talk about shared services.
You're talking about two years ago?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to make sure everybody's on the same page.
We went up there to talk about shared services, and when we got up there, I mean, my mouth fell to my lap because it was brought up as a merger, and that is not what we had gone up there for originally, and which is why they were not very receptive of the whole thing. The paper did not talk about merging schools. It talked about keeping the 3 schools and just sharing a superintendent and possibly a business manager.
I was referring to the editorial that they wrote after
Right.
the article.
Oh, this is the editorial that was in the paper that I thought you
I'm
were.
not familiar with it,
They've
so.
done a number.
Oh, I didn't see it.
It's the 19th now.
Oh, that's the second one? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see that.
Lily, I remember that all the leading up to sale, meeting different people. You do, because I got a call from the former board merging this. So there was discussion of merging before. They were the ones who invited us up. Something happened, we don't know.
Vince, can you touch on that?
I was surprised as everybody else was, because when Carrie and I were talking, we were talking about sharing services and exploring every possible avenue. Merger, consolidation, annexation, whatever it was.
Karen, meeting the superintendent.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
I just want to make sure everyone's on the same page.
Yeah.
I wasn't there.
And Carrie Penn, who is the individual who just retired, or resigned. But when we got out there, I think no one was more shocked than I was, because we had conversations, emailing back and forth, phone calls, and all of a sudden, it was as if we were trying to attack them, to gobble them up, and that was not the intent at all of that meeting. So I think if we're going to do something like that, we need to have long conversations before any of that is done.
With what Tom was talking about with Jim, I agree that Jim had really clearly had stated to us, I feel, that if we were going to explore that opportunity, that it really be fully explored due to the fact that we have to take a look at people's positions and all that. So I agree with the comment from Tom in regards to that, if we're gonna do this, we need to be responsible about exploring before we ever make that decision. And then the other option that we have to talk about is if we do that ourselves, if we hire ourselves, meaning that we decide to put a post out to coordinate constituent groups and to coordinate the process. How would that look if we decided that we were going to do that? Where would we want to go? And like I said, I just put this together just so we had, if there was questions, at least that part would be answered.
Let me review what we did last time.
Okay. That'd be great.
We worked with Mr. Dexter, I think it was
Yeah.
Mr. Dexter or Mr. Studov. We worked with the OC superintendent.
Was it Studov?
Studov, I'm sorry. We had, he compiled the initial applications, he checked the credentials, he did the initial screening. The school board then reviewed the 15 or 18 candidates that were legally able to take the job. We winnowed it down to, and I'm sorry, I'm not clear the number, it might be 5 or 6. And those are the people that we, as a board, interviewed. And then we sent, I'm fudging the numbers, I'm sorry, 3 or 4 to several committees. The committees were the faculty, the CSEA, and the administrators. Remembering at that point we had every administrator was an intern, including the superintendent.
Tom, do you know if
we then waited for their report to come back with their recommendations, and then we picked the final 2 candidates, and that was when we introduced them to the community, and then the board made the final pick.
Tom, do you know, because he gave us a list, Jim did, with some different constituent groups on there. So I was just wondering, was parents, teachers, students, community members, non-instructional, and administrators were part of all of that grouping?
We had a CSEA group, we had a faculty group, and we had administrators.
Okay, so it wasn't all of these groups. Paul, just so you're aware, because I'm not sure if you got this or not, but did you get Jim's handouts from the last board meeting? Did someone provide you with that? Okay, so you have this information then. Just want to make sure you're aware, because it's a little bit different from them. And, the recommendation was for all those categories that I just, or that's typically, I guess, how they usually do it, as a recommendation to the board. He also gave us a timeline and some samples as well. So I'm looking for where do we go with this, and what are some of the recommendations that the board have to move forward in regards to this process? Obviously, this is the beginning of many discussions that we're going to have. But we should at least be narrowing down where we're going with this. If we're going with Jim, then that really kind of gives us one direction. If we're going someplace else, it gives us some other direction. So I'm looking for some responses to where people think we should be headed.
I think I said my recommendation is to go with Mr. Dexter. He's got the experience. People know that
isn't on the board would be really qualified to come up and do this ourselves. You can do this probably for recording, but I wouldn't feel comfortable doing it.
What would you recommend, William?
The intern, I don't think that's a good idea. Very bad idea. And, the outside is too expensive.
The outside consultant, not Jim.
No. And that's pretty much the Jim Dexter.
Paul and Peggy?
Well, first off, I'm looking at this editorial right now, and back to the editorial about the doable piece and maybe a sharing superintendent. I'd like to see us have some kind of conversation with Salem and or Greenwich in regards to maybe sharing. I don't know, but just to investigate to see. They mentioned this article that since the superintendent's primary responsibility is preparing the budget, that's why it would make sense if you had a single superintendent and you have a single business office. That would make it all sense. They were talking also about, was it Queensberry? Yeah, Queensberry's got 3,500 students, Shenandoah has got 10,000. They both have a single superintendent. I'm not sure how associate superintendents in that piece. So I did want to say that I did agree with trying to at least explore this openness. But I think I also would go along, I'm not confident in my abilities to search for a superintendent, so I think the Jim Dexter thing is probably the best way to go, because he was being
Paul?
Jim Dexter.
I agree with you, with the board actually, in regards to looking at Jim Dexter for the superintendent search. I think it's the best avenue to go. I think he put together a pretty good presentation and really great structure. And again, we, along with that, will still have all of these meetings that we have, and it's my understanding that we set the schedule with him, but he does the legwork. So I'm comfortable with that. I would also like to recommend that as we're doing that, that we do ask for I agree with you, Peggy, I think we should at least have a conversation with him as he's putting this together. I also agree with Tom that people aren't running to Cambridge to say and consolidate the superintendent piece. I'm guessing with the newspaper article that you're referencing, that if there was that idea, either Vince or myself, as being the board president, would have had somebody knocking on my door already, and we have not. The only thing is the letter that Kate shared with all of you from this Mr. Sheldon.
Mr. Brown.
I'm sorry, Mr. Brown. Should remember that, right? So I too feel like this is the area where we should do that with Jim. And so, Kate.
Can I just state one thing that we haven't heard anything from Salem or Greenwich, but have we contacted them?
We were the ones that mentioned it publicly. We were the ones that mentioned the possibility of sharing the superintendent.
So, and he gave us back at the last meeting the specific in regards to how he wanted that addressed if we were to hire him. It was labeled as the superintendent search consultant. So I'm going to make the motion that we hire Jim Dexter, which we BOCES district superintendent, as our superintendent consultant.
I would change that to utilize. We're not hiring him.
To utilize, yes, thank you. Seconded by Peggy Kate. Discussion?
Are you comfortable, Peggy, with that, looking into the same agreement
I actually would still like to see us have a conversation
with the
in regards to that.
I think that would be part of the discussion with Jim. Get Jim on board, and we'll have these kinds of discussions.
I agree. I think that there'll be multiple meetings that we're gonna have, special meetings, I'm sure. And that, these are part of the conversations as we move forward that we can have. And he probably already has a pulse on some of that anyway, so he might be able to lead us in that direction. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Okay, for everyone. Right. So in regards to that piece, Kate, with the superintendent search, what I will do is I will send out an email to Mr. Dexter and CC you in regards to that, as well as the rest of the board. Let him know that we've approved that and to work with him on setting the next steps. Okay. Okay. Time is it? The next thing on the agenda is the budget committee. And again, just to apprise people that we're not at the last meeting, there was a motion that was recommended that we develop a budget committee. And that was approved by the board to do so. And so it's my understanding here that we are just beginning the process of really talking about how that's gonna look and what things we wanna have included in on it, or things that we wanna be able to develop, or stakeholders, et cetera. So I'm gonna step back from the microphone for a moment and ask for people's input. Regards to that.
I apologize, I should have done more research, but I didn't. I have